Right, because I know that not everybody who's either talking today or here today has been a part of the project from the beginning. I'm just going to give a little overview. For the people who have been part of the previous workshop, some of this will be a repeat. But basically, what we aim to do in this network was to look at the cultural and social and political implications of the Norman conquest through a lens of archaeology and material culture specifically, as opposed to the more traditional dominant documentary narratives that have kind of become both the academic and the public story of the Norman conquest. And what we really want to do academically is create a new research framework for the 11th and 12th centuries that's good to present both to other archaeology audiences, so people who aren't interested in this period but are interested in archaeology, to show them what the Norman conquest can do for them, and then also interdisciplinary audiences, so we can play a bigger role in the debates that have been happening for a long time in history and literature and in art history, but archaeology hasn't really had a lot to say in those debates, or as much as we could, I think. The other goal is to bring together all the different arms of archaeology, the scientific and the humanistic sides within academia, but then also professional and public engagement and heritage sides of archaeology, to get us talking with each other a bit better and to maximize the potential for what we could do with this period. And then these are the people who are kind of involved as the core committee for planning all this. So the first two workshops, the first one focused on interpretive agendas, and we established our priorities for research, the questions that we want to ask, the stories we think we can tell that we haven't been. We had a lot of discussion about what's been holding us back and what we could do better, and then also focused a lot on interdisciplinary communication and agenda, so how we can make our questions interesting to historians and the like. And then in the second one, we focused on new methods and approaches. So there was a lot on scientific archaeology, so the kinds of techniques that are being used in other periods within archaeology, a lot in prehistory, but also in other historic periods that we haven't really made as much use of as we might in the 11th and 12th centuries. So we talked about ancient DNA, about chemical analysis of paints and pigments, about zooarchaeology by mass spectrometry to look at objects and materials like parchment that are made out of animals, residues from cooking pots and things like that to look into diet and cuisine, and then also human and animal isotopes to look at travel. So when you have periods of migration, like with the Normans coming over, how we might identify some of the skeletons that we have. People talked about new approaches to traditional ways of looking at this period, like artifacts and landscape, and we brainstormed possible avenues for future projects. And then the big question about today is, because the AHRC makes us do impact, so we have to think about how we can achieve it and how it can be measured, particularly in a project like this where it's just we're mainly getting together and talking to other people who are already interested in the subject. How do we actually connect with the public or make some sort of changes in the grand schemes of things? And the challenge is that in a project like this, there's no money for it. All the money in this is about getting people to where we want to be for these networks and paying for their travel and things like that. So we had to think creatively about what we could do. And so we are having hopefully some impact in the heritage sector by having a meeting like today, where we're at the museum, we're talking about the HLF grant and the plans that the Castle Museum has for redeveloping, but also hopefully by getting the input of a lot of different people from the heritage sector. And then hopefully what we can do with public impact is through our website, through social media, and through plans with this app that hopefully we'll be involved in, and through popular publications, we can start to reach a wider audience beyond who comes to these network meetings. So the things that we've got already, we've got the website at normanarchaeology.org, so it's got information about what we're doing in the network, but it also is doing things like archiving the talks from here, and we've got the capacity to put other resources up there, and it doesn't have to end with the end of the project. We've got Twitter and Facebook pages, hopefully, as well, which are starting to attract other interested people within social media. And then the things we're planning to do, we've got conferences planned. We're already set up at Leeds in Battle for this summer, and hopefully at the Haskins Conference in November as well, to talk about what we're doing in the project. We've said we're going to do an article which talks about our research agendas in an academic journal, hopefully a popular piece, perhaps in British Archaeology magazine, to explain what we're doing, and then the field trip app and mini articles on the website. But hopefully what we're going to talk about today is other ideas that we might do in the long run. So can we make education resources? Could we do interviews or videos that we could put on the website that people might use? Maybe even surveys, within the museums to see what people want out of this period when they're engaging with this sort of archaeology. So this field trip app, before the project was funded, I contacted these guys who run this app, and they what it is I can't show it to you on my phone, unfortunately, but if you download it on your phone, what happens is that as you walk around a city or wherever you are, you can log into you click on the app, and it will pop up with interesting things around you that you can then go see. And there are lots of different categories, so it's not just history and archaeology stuff. There's restaurants and fun things to do and kids and so on. But there's 3 categories that we might contribute to: history, architecture, and art and museums. And I'm going to show you in a minute, but what they have is usually a picture and a brief description, but then most link through to a slightly longer article or blog post and further info, which we could then house on the website. And so what we'd ask members to do is think about if they can contribute one thing from their research or where they live and work, a Norman archaeology object or building or site that we can promote through this app, and hopefully get people visiting these sites who use this app. But we might have to think about a way of multitasking these entries. Certainly we can promote them through social media, but perhaps we might be able to use them for education resources as well, so that teachers who want to take kids on field trips or whatever. So this is what it looks like on your phone. So these I did last night. So you can get the card for Norwich Castle that's here. So there's a picture and then a short description of it. And then this is what it looks like if you're in Norwich. It will highlight. So Norwich Cathedral is there, and it'll highlight where it is. And then you can see there's architecture, so you can scroll through and see all the other architecture entries, and you can see where they are, and that's all around Norfolk. Now, I have run into one problem, and that before, when I was applying for the money, these guys were like, yeah, that sounds great. We've got a free publisher tool. And then the problem is that academia moves slower than apps. And so in the year since then, that app company made Pokemon Go, which, if anybody knows, is everybody was walking around looking for Pokemons on their phone, which made them a whole lot more money than this. So they haven't been as interested in this app as they are. So they haven't deleted it. It's still there. It's still being used. But they may not be as enthusiastic as they are about their augmented reality stuff now. So we have to negotiate with them. And even if we can't do it through this, hopefully there will be other outlets for these sorts of things. Right, so what we want to do today, I ended the show. What we want to do today is hear the presentations that are going to focus on various forms of public interaction and communication of this archaeology. Some will discuss collections and sites and projects which pertain directly to the 11th and 12th centuries, and others will focus on resources which could be used to improve 11th and 12th century archaeology, or areas where we might expand our research, but we are not really doing it as much as we could yet. So the Church of England, Church's database in education and in media. We want to think about how we can develop better research and impact links between the academic side of archaeology and the non-academic arms, so we can better communicate these stories to the public, as you guys have more access to the public than we do as academics. So this is your chance to tell, as institutions, what do you want academics to do? How could we better work with you? Do you have stuff that we should know about and that we should be using? And vice versa, are we thinking about ideas that you guys could implement into collections or displays? And what form should these future collaborations take, and how can we use those most effectively to take forward into future projects? So, and what we want to discuss are these potential challenges and opportunities that we have, so that we can further develop that research agenda, note where opportunities exist, and also what resources we might be able to develop that we can use on the web and to reach out to the people a bit more.